Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Naked Lunch. I am Bob Sluys, and I will be your tour guide today. Naked Lunch. Well, naked because we try to be open and honest and transparent when we talk to our guests. The lunch part I have yet to figure out, but when we do, we'll let you know. So anyway, without any further ado, I see he's already enjoying a little bite. We might as well bring him on board right now. Here's our good friend Jay Shifely. Now, Jay is in the Midwest. How you doing this morning, this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Hey, we're glad to have you on. Let me tell you a little bit about Jay. Jay is an international business consultant, and he'll tell you more about that. And obviously, with something like that in the past year with the pandemic and the COVID and the elections and all that, that's got to be a really interesting place to be on the worldwide stage. Just for clarification, we are completely unrehearsed, unprepared, and uninformed. That's the only way I give my guests even a fighting chance. Otherwise, this would be no fun to watch. Am I right?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
great.
All right, Jay, are you ready to get naked?
I'm ready to get naked.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So tell us a little bit about your international business consultant venture, please.
Okay, well, I got kind of hooked up into this. I spent some time in Pakistan when I was in my late teens. Right out of high school, I went over to Pakistan and I enrolled in a university there.
Wow.
Called Punjab University. Yeah. And so while I was over there, I did a lot of traveling before I got there. I traveled through Japan and through Hong Kong and through Thailand and then I was in India for a while, and really had a difficult time with all the international travel. I grew up in Ohio, small town Ohio, so I didn't want to travel, but there was something inside me that said try it, so I tried it, and it was as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Right. So
I was homesick. I was so homesick.
No. I went on the road when I was 18. I toured with Roy Clark. And when the tour was over, I could hardly wait to get back to my basketball courts and my car and all that kind of stuff. So I understand that. Travel now, obviously, after 9/11, has got to be a completely different thing as opposed to when you started back in the day.
Yeah. No, it was much easier to travel back then, or there wasn't security like there is now. It was a very different world. And then I was in Pakistan in the late 80s, 85 to 88. I was there. It was a different country then. It was very friendly to the U.S.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. I did a tour of China where not one person spoke one word of English. I'm guessing the same was in Pakistan, right? I mean, you didn't speak their language. They didn't speak yours.
Right. Well, they speak a lot of English, though, in the Indian subcontinent.
Oh, they do?
Okay. Yeah, because the British were there for
of course.
And yeah. And British is the language of the educated. So, and all universities are taught in English.
Okay.
So English it's Pakistani English and Indian English, which is different than any other English in the world.
Is it the same English we get when we call a complaint center or a call center for a credit card, where you spend a half hour and you don't get anything done and you go, forget it. I'll just cancel. I'll just close my account.
Well, I posted something on Facebook. It was a Quora question, and someone had asked what's different about Indian English, and there's this whole list of things. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
The way that people don't die, they expire.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like you have a born-on date or something, like a carton of milk.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to us. Yeah, to them it's a normal word. He expired in 1985, is what they'll say. Yeah.
My career expired about the same time. I don't know if the people are noticing, but we've got sort of the same kind of look going on here. We
do, yeah. I've always found you quite handsome.
I'm trying to catch up in the little chinny chin chin Billy Goat Gruff department there.
Yeah.
How long did that take you, by the way? That's that very handsome beard you're sporting there.
I've had a beard for a long time. So
really?
It goes, yeah.
Third grade, fourth grade, something like that.
I think I came out of the womb with it.
Ooh,
isn't that weird?
That's weird, man.
That sounds well.
So let's get back to the stuff that people really want to hear about. So,
okay.
Is that Simonize you use, by the way, or how do you get that? Nice backlighting you've got going on. That's a good look.
I have a buffer, and
Okay.
I just, yeah.
Watch this.
Daily.
I do impersonations. Imagine your head being right here. Ooh, I see great things in your future. Okay, that's not funny. Okay, let's get time to get serious. And
Okay.
so there's a lot to discuss. Obviously, the last year, the pandemic, COVID affecting international relations, business. Where are you today as far as mentally, emotionally, spiritually? We have sort of a commonality spiritually in many ways. How has the pandemic affected you and your family?
Oh, it's changed everything for us. I think. Let me just really quickly say I had a hard time traveling, but then when I got to Pakistan, I felt at home. I felt like I was home.
No kidding.
And so I just want to complete that thought. Okay. Then because I don't want people to be hanging thinking, oh, this guy hates traveling, but yet he's a business consultant.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
okay.
Although let me interrupt. With Zoom, even us doing this on Messenger, has changed the way we do business. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I can continue my work. It's not as good, I don't think, but face-to-face meetings always are better.
Yeah.
But this is we don't have a choice at this point. So it works. It does work. We were talking with a potential client yesterday who is in North Africa, and they were saying, before we would hire you, we would want to meet you. But I said, I would agree, but it's not possible. So we're going to, rather than having maybe a weekend talking through something, we're going to have to take probably a couple months of weekly Zoom meetings in order to get to know each other and our situations. So it's definitely made things longer and more complex, but it does work. So, and it's better than not doing anything at all. So it's changed. It's changed the way we do work. My son is in Japan teaching English.
Wow.
And we haven't seen him we saw him not Christmas 2020, Christmas 2019 is when we saw him. We met in Thailand and saw him then, but we haven't seen him since.
No kidding.
Yeah, because he can't leave Japan. Otherwise, he needs to quarantine when he gets back, and his job won't let him do that.
Sure.
And then my daughter graduated college. We were in India, and we came back in March 2020 because we saw what was happening, and we thought the stock market crashed here. That was my signal. Something significant is happening. So we came back to the States about a week before it all broke loose. And it was the week of spring break for my daughter. She came home from college to see us, and she never went back because all the colleges, all the universities closed.
Wow.
And so, she was with us, and then she graduated in May. There was an online commencement, which was, anticlimactic, to say the least.
I can't even imagine what.
I've always taught my kids, though, it's not the college experience is what you're going to come out with. So don't go into college for the college experience. Go in to get something to help you get a job when you get out.
Okay, so let me interrupt because I heard a while back that in Japan, you brought up Japan, that high school in Japan is brutal. Okay, and then when they go to college, it's 4 years of partying to make up for the 4 years of partying they didn't get when they were in high school. So the college experience is completely useless in Japan. It's just a way to meet chicks and meet dudes and, do whatever you do. So what you're saying is that sounds a little bit different there. Now, who do I believe?
Yeah.
Who should I believe now? Your kids?
Oh, well, no. Believe my kid because he lives there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. And that seems to be right now, with the pandemic, just watching the news earlier, it seems to be, spreading a little bit more now with the spring break and everyone's thinking it's all behind us. We're getting our vaccine. By the way, have you got your vaccine yet?
I have my first dose.
Oh,
yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
But
How
you're
about
not.
you?
Well, you're not. I'll answer that. But you're not 65 yet. Am I guessing right? And so, what kind of strings did you have to pull to?
Well, I'm really connected, and
the mayor is your brother-in-law. I see. Okay, that explains.
Small town, No,
you don't have a daughter. Her name's not Ivanka, is it? By any chance? Okay.
No.
Okay, I see how you are.
No.
Hey, I've got
Yeah,
to. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, actually today, I just got an email. It's not an email saying that 16 years old and up can come in and get a vaccine today.
We're doing the same thing here starting, I think, next month in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
I guess they have a bunch of extra doses. But anyway, we were 50 and up. I'm 55, so I was able to get a vaccine. I got it last week, I think.
Okay, good.
My second dose is April 8th.
Mine is coming up about a week and a half. Here's what happened with me, because you asked how I got mine. First of all, I've had 4 open heart surgeries. They didn't care about that, They
didn't.
No, I couldn't get anywhere, and so a friend of mine. Yeah. I mean, the system is so arbitrary and capricious, if you will.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had posted on Facebook a couple of weeks ago saying, with a picture of him and his wife, and they're in their 40s, with their little "I got my shot" thing. I'm going, wait a minute, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to him, and I called him. He goes, dude, up at the main center, a friend of mine called and said, just come on up here. There's no one here. They're throwing the stuff away. It's spoiling. They got all these National Guard and volunteers, and there's hundreds of people here, and there's no one here to give the shot to, so just come on up. So got in my car, started driving. He calls me back. He goes, well, that information wasn't quite accurate. You got to go online to this website and and register, which I did. So I turned around. Yeah. I was wearing my special vaccination T-shirt. It's a picture of Donald Trump drinking bleach. What do you call that? Anyway, I wore that just to entertain the troops. But anyway, so I went home. I registered. I showed up the next day. And what I had to do when you register, they ask you what age group, some questions. Are you a first responder? Are you an essential worker? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I told a lie. I told them I was a community service. I do volunteer work. And the way I do that is when I'm at the store buying my groceries, I do a little bit of shtick with the checkout girl, and I figure that's giving back. That's enough community service right there. Yeah. And the point is, they don't ask you that.
With your sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, at times, of course, but
showing your gift upon others.
Dude, I recycle the same 3 jokes, just like Johnny Carson. I've been doing it for about 40 years. But anyway, long story short, I got there. There was no one there. They hustled you right through. All they did was check your ID and your confirmation number. And so I get it that unless we can maybe start talking about the pandemic, as we sort of segue into it. But there was no plan, obviously. It's taken a year to sort of get things up and rolling, and it can be debated about, this and that, and monies and political posturing and imagery and the vision of wearing a mask. And the fact is, and that it's a hoax. And some people don't want to take the vaccine because it's got microchips in it that Bill Gates has created and these drugs. You've heard all the rumors. What are your thoughts on all that?
My first shot, I could feel the microchips making their way into my brain.
That needle was. I mean, you can't put anything in that, right?
Yeah. I hear Joe Biden in my head now all the time.
Well, you got to get off of CNN and go back to Fox News, man. Fox News, where you belong. Okay. I know how you are. Yeah, you need some Wolf Blitzer. Anyway.
I like Wolf.
He's a good guy. Everything is breaking news. I'm going, dude, I heard this last week, right?
Yeah.
Breaking news, Jimmy Carter is not running for re-election. It's 40 years ago. Okay, I digress.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So the pandemic is my reaction to the pandemic is I can't believe it. I can't believe the world's reaction to this.
In what way?
That it was so. It differs in different countries, but generally, the reaction was across the board. This is a new disease. This is something we don't know how to deal with. We don't know what it's going to do to us. Therefore, there was international travel shut down, lockdowns went into play, and pretty much everywhere, at least at the beginning, and that just fascinated me. to see that same reaction to within cultures and governments all across the world. Yeah.
See, I have a slightly different take.
Okay.
Well, I don't disagree with factually that that's what happened, okay, in essence.
Okay.
But back in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I was a Boy Scout, and our motto was "Be prepared." And prevention is an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, whatever the cliche might be. The fact is it better to be reactionary, which is what we were, as opposed to having something lined up? So let's say that it wasn't a pandemic. Yeah. Well, we didn't know a virus. It could, virus, tornado, flood, earthquake, whatever. When stuff happens, economic a collapse like 11, 12, 13 years ago, when stuff happens, shouldn't there be people already, heck of a job, Brownie, people that are qualified and they have a game plan together? Rumor has it that Obama administration had left a pandemic type game plan at the White House, which was then shredded and used for, to line the cat box. So when we say, no one saw this coming, 9/11, there were people that tried to warn about 9/11. Pearl Harbor attack, there were people that were saying they're going to come in through the mountains on the north. And it's not expedient. It's like road work or infrastructure. No politician wants to pay for that on their watch. Right. That's
the.
They want to hand it down to someone else. It's not my job.
I disagree with you there. Yeah, I'm. I guess if we would rephrase what I said in a clearer way, I'm fascinated at the reaction that the world had to it, and that we weren't planning for it, and there wasn't a plan in place. If there was, it was tossed out the window. But it's a lot of places in the world did not have a plan in place.
People don't want to deal with that. It's same with our diets. We only I got to have a heart surgery because I ate crap for 40 years and drank Pepsis. I didn't see that coming.
350 pounds.
I have lung cancer and emphysema and leukemia, and I'm going to die because I smoked cigarettes for. Come on. Right?
That's true. Yeah. But we should. They've been warning about a pandemic. I mean, apparently, it's been on the radar for a long time. It's just a matter of time till it hits. And it hit, and nobody was prepared. And, my reaction when I saw, I was sitting in India, and I saw, first case of coronavirus in Washington State. And I thought, 1 out of 350 million people, 320 million, however many are here. We're going to create a big fuss over that. And then it spread very quickly. And I actually think the coronavirus has been around a lot longer than we were aware of it.
Okay, let me interrupt. Why do you say that? What do you base that on?
Because I think I had it in December.
Okay, so you're saying a month or two earlier, not years ago.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Just before. I don't know how long it's been around, but before we became aware of it and it became a thing, I think it was well on its way to spreading itself around.
So let me ask you something. What you just said, and even the position of our leadership back then was, only 15 people are going to have it. It'll be gone before we know it. You just said, no big deal. Why get in a huff over one person in Washington State?
Yeah.
Jay, it's called a virus. And viruses, stay with me on this, go viral. See what I'm doing here? Virus, viral. And that means everyone gets it. It's viral. Okay. Kind of like one of those Kardashian posts on Twitter, right? Goes viral. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm not going to.
By the way, I have no friends, by the way,
Yeah, that's okay. I consider you my friend.
I appreciate that. Okay. All right. By the way, I'm having a little vodka here. That you don't mind, do you?
That's okay. Yeah, well, I've got a red Solo cup here, and it's
beautiful.
A big one. So,
you disguise it in a coffee cup.
Bob, I need to imbibe somewhat.
Red Solo cup. That's the best thing.
This is an insulated one. It's reusable. It's an insulated.
Seriously?
One. Yeah, it's really nice. Got it at Walmart. I think it was 99 cents.
I went to Walmart last month because I was going to go on an epic adventure to Costa Rica, which got derailed.
Yeah, I followed that saga.
Right?
what was revealed on Facebook. Yeah, you were going to Costa Rica, and
Good. Well, here's
it wasn't as sweet as you thought it was going to be.
no. Here's what happened. Not to go to Costa Rica, but it's the Walmart thing, the 99-cent cup. I went there and I bought a baseball cap because that's a prudent thing to do when you're in the tropics, especially with guys like you and me.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
got to have the baseball cap, and I got a white one because that's better for reflecting. This is just common prudence. This is like planning for a pandemic. I'm the kind of guy that the COVID would have never got to because I do these things called planning. And I also bought this SPF.
What's that word you use?
Planning.
What's it called?
Yeah, preparation.
Okay, what's that mean?
It means nothing, right? And I don't piss and moan. If I go have a heart attack, it's because I deserve one, okay? And I got this SPF 3000, right, which is also a prudent thing to do when you're in the tropics. And then I bought this other stuff called bug spray. Why, you might ask? There are bugs in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
And then I bought this thing called a water bottle because if you don't want to be drinking out of a stream or the ocean, you got to. So these are smart, prudent things to do.
They're smart. Yes, they are.
And I didn't get to implement them, so I'm very bitter about this. Very unhappy.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. I did my bachelor's degree from the University of Hawaii.
Oh, really?
Go Warriors. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was the sun in Hawaii is super intense.
Yep.
And it's so I remember going to a concert once. It was a guy named Steve Camp. He was real popular among Christians back then.
In other words, he had like no money and he lived in his car.
He had no money. And
okay, perfect.
He came on this. And it was just him and a piano. He had no band or anything.
Sure.
And it was at a church, right? So he came and he sat down. He came out in a pair of sweats, sweatpants and a sweatshirt. He's like, I was at the beach and I got third-degree burns all over my body.
Oh, really?
Oh. He had to cancel his concert the night before. We were lucky that we got to see him. But that was very common. People just didn't understand how intense the sun could be. So SPF 3000 sounds pretty good. Yeah, it probably is like smearing Vaseline all over you, but
right.
At least it protects you from the sun.
It's funny because growing up in Washington State, the reason I never became famous as a musician, I did pretty good, but I never quite got there, is when I moved to LA, when I was skinny, had a lot of hair, I looked like MacGyver and Sting had a love child, if that's even possible.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures. Yeah.
Right? Anyway, the reason is because I'd never seen the sun before in my 24 years on the planet. I'm going, what is this?
Oh, yeah.
So I spent every day down at the beach.
Ball in the sky.
What's that ball in the sky? I didn't practice my bass. I didn't network. I didn't go down to Hollywood Boulevard and smoke crack and do all this and get inked up like all the stuff you're supposed to do if you want to be Guns N' Roses. No, I went to the beach and played volleyball because that's what I did. But if you're not used to it, it takes a while to adapt. Like you say, you can. And people go to Hawaii on vacation. They've only got a week. They've got a week to come back looking like they've been to Hawaii, and instead they come back, in the burn ward, so.
They're looking like a lobster.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, it happened all the time to people. But, that's just, we were always careful. My wife and I were always careful.
Good. Now, your wife has Japanese heritage. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Her mother was Japanese. Her father was Canadian, actually. And they naturalized here in the States years ago. And so both of them are passed away now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, here's something about Hawaii. I mean, we really liked Hawaii. I mean, how could you not?
Sure.
Right. But living there was a little tense because I'm white, and I experienced there a reverse racial tension. I'm not going to call it racism. It wasn't racism, but it was racial tension. And I was called a haole, which that's not.
It's not the N word, but it's not a compliment.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was not in. It's like even in a small town. Like we came back to Ashland, Ohio here, and I lived in Ohio, grew up in rural Ohio, so I fit right back in again. But Heather doesn't really. But anyway, in Hawaii, it was that way too. It was like you're an islander or you're not. And I obviously was not. But Heather, being what they call Hapa, which is half Asian, immediately was in.
Really?
And and that brought me in then too. As soon as people found out Heather was Hapa, we were in. So that was interesting.
What was also interesting is that you use the word, and again, we're talking COVID, we're talking, but the BLM, Black Lives Matter, all that happened over the summer and still happening and been around forever. You use the phrase reverse racism or reverse and
racial tension.
Racial tension. But look, I did a tour of China. I toured the South when I was in Roy Clark's band. I played sports teams. I was the only white guy in an all-black band on the bass guitar, which is not even humanly possible, and I sucked and I got fired. But the point is, racism goes in all directions, as we know.
It does, yeah.
And I'm not condoning. Obviously, we don't condone it in any direction. But I think it's part of humanity, part of the human heart. What we don't understand, we immediately, whether it's color of skin or an accent or how much money you make, or on and on and on. There's a lot of things to be prejudiced against people for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
and there's no room for that anywhere, and that's why I use the racial tension thing, because racism, I think, is something completely different. Racism is I would define it as far more serious and far more twisted and deformed.
An act of hatred, if you will.
Yeah. And when I say reverse, it's like, well, I grew up in rural Ohio. I was among all white people most of my life. Anybody of any different ethnic group was an anomaly.
Yeah.
And so I never experienced the prejudice against me, because I grew up with a bunch of people that looked just like me. But when I went to Hawaii, it was different. I was only a third of the population.
Yep.
And I could feel it. And I appreciate being in that category, because I can understand what it's like to not be liked just because you're a certain race.
And to take it, and I appreciate you saying that, to take that a step further, and then you go to Pakistan.
Well, yeah, and there's pros and cons to being a white person in Pakistan too, because there's a certain status you get when you have white skin. There's a certain good status that you get, and so, like, if I would get in line to pay my phone bill, everybody would shove me to the front. There would just be this respect that I didn't earn, but they still gave it to me because of the color of my skin. However, I was never in to the culture.
See, I don't understand. I don't understand that, because the British came and subjugated, if you will, right? And now they're same with. I was in South Africa. I went to an AIDS orphan village in the mountains of the Drakensberg Mountains in the middle of nowhere. Spent 3 weeks there, and that, talk about racism and racial tension in South Africa. That was, the hotbed, right?
Yeah, my gosh, yeah.
And yet and right next to a shanty town was a Monte Carlo style casino. It was just amazing, and yet the local people were still, subservient, like putting you to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Not realizing, wait a minute, these people oppressed us for how many hundreds of years?
I know.
That makes no sense.
I never understood that, but it's less than it was in the 80s now. Having lived in India for 10 years, from 2002 to 2012, I saw that change even over that period of time. There's less of that. What's the word? Deferring to the American, or to the guy with the white skin.
Are they deferring willingly, or is it like, if I don't, I'm going to end up in the gulag?
No, it's not. It's not that. I don't think it's illegal to not defer to the guy with the light skin. But it's. I don't know. I just remember one of my friends saying, whenever I see somebody like you, I feel ashamed. And I was like, why? I mean, at that particular time, I was young. I had no education. I had nothing. It's like, well, there's nothing for you to feel ashamed about. I am far less than you as far as my accomplishments. But there's just this Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. Probably because of the British rule, but I don't know that.
Okay, so let's go back to what you just said. You said that with a humble spirit, probably in large part because of your faith in God, your Christian belief. If you didn't have that, would you have that same attitude? Do you think there are the white people that are not people of faith that are just looking to gain advantage and use and abuse and all those, where you did it humbly, but a lot of people don't?
Yeah. I think most of the people I work with are intent on how can I not be in charge? How can I train local people to take my place? I think there's that general attitude with me, and that's what I teach, and that's what I consult with people, and that's what I teach them is you need to eventually turn this over to the local people and not just be you. And so you're creating jobs, you're creating wealth, you're creating tax. You're generating tax income for your government, for the government. There's all these things that you're doing, and eventually, because you're not a citizen of that country, you're going to end up coming back, whether it's because of an education issue or a health issue or aging parents, whatever it might be.
So, in essence, you're evangelizing in some ways, maybe not religiously, but in the ways of business and the ways of money management and careers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, evangelizing, I don't like that word. I don't, even the word missionary and evangelizing, all those have so much baggage with them, right?
No, why is that? Because there's man involved. Humans are involved, right?
Yeah. And even the word Christian carries baggage with it.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, believe it or not. If I would say, I experimented with calling myself something else. I'm a follower of Jesus.
Okay.
I'm a disciple of Christ. And I would say that. So what religion are you? Because everybody in South Asia talks about religion all the time, and it's even on your passport what religion you are. It's
really?
Very much part of their identity. Yeah. And I'd say, oh, I'm a follower of Jesus, and they'd look at me like, huh? So, I read the Bible and I follow the teaching of the Bible. Oh, you're a Christian. Yeah. So it was useless to try to change that term. As far as I was concerned, I just had to show them that I wasn't what they thought I was.
So Christian, by definition, means a follower of Christ, but by practical application, look, there's a lot of evangelicals, so let's dig that word up again, the one you don't like, and I don't like either, that are the basis for the supporter of our past president, whose behavior was anything but. Forget his policies, forget about stock market and stuff. Just his human behavior, his speech, was anything but the follower of Christ. And yet there's tens of millions of people that profess to be followers of Christ that will support this man to the bitter end. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's disturbing. Politically, like some of Trump's policies, like his policies on the economy, Republican policies, or what they used to be. I don't think they are what they used to be, but economic responsibility, not spending ourselves, how many trillions of dollars are in debt are we now? All those things I'm for, but not because I'm a Christian. It's because that's just the way I lean. I'm a business guy, so I like to help people create their own wealth and take care of themselves. And so I've heard it said that, well, we don't have by design in our country a state religion, right? We don't have a national religion. Like I believe some countries do. Like some countries will have Islam as their state religion, right? And that's what they think everybody should be. We don't have that in the States, but people still feel the need to identify somehow religiously with their country, And so go ahead.
Okay, and I've thought about that. We're a Christian nation, not by our deeds, not by our actions.
No.
So do we use that term, well, we're a Christian, to condone, to make it all okay? We're the hardest worker. Did you know that we are the hardest working people on the planet? I happen to know this is not true, but we self-proclaim it. That makes it true. All we have to do is say it, and then it's true.
Yeah.
We're the hardest working people on the planet. We're the most honest. We're the most generous. We're all these things because we say it. We're Christian. Well, here's how the best way to be a Christian is don't say anything. Let me watch you. I'm going to watch you. Do you behave like a Christian? If not, you can call yourself whatever you want, but I'm not going to drink your Kool-Aid.
Yeah. No, I think we Christians feel I've struggled with this too. I've tried to figure it out too, and that's one of them. I think is there's a religious vacuum nationally, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's there, and so people are seeking to kind of fill it with something, and saying America is a Christian nation. Well, no, we're a nation where anybody can practice their religion, any religion, religious freedom of speech.
Unless you're Muslim, and our leader doesn't want you to come into our country.
Well,
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much, even politically, there's so much assumption that goes on. And it's spun depending on who you listen to and where you get your information from. And that's part of the problem in our country right now is that we get our information from very polarized sources thanks to social media.
Let me ask you something. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I
get my information directly from the guy with the orange skin and the whatever animal he has curled up on his head when he speaks. Yeah. So I don't need anyone. Yeah. I don't need Brett Byer, Tucker Carlson, Wolf Blitzer. Dan Rather. I don't care what channel or media, social. Yeah. Kim Kardashian. I don't need any of those people to tell me what I just saw and heard with my own eyes emanating from that person. So when people say, well, the news is it's entertainment for ratings, for money, and that can't be ours. That can't be our source for our values and our ethics and our morals and our character and our faith.
Yeah,
those are my thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think there's also stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see, and it's probably much worse than what we do see.
Probably,
we don't know
no
that
doubt,
for sure because we don't see it, right? Yep. So we can't definitively say, this is what's going on because we don't see it. We rely on other people to tell us this, and sometimes it's spun a certain way. You can spin things according to your agenda, and I think that's what's happening. I think if I'm on Facebook and I'm clicking on Fox News articles all the time, right, I'm going to get in my newsfeed on Facebook conservative, maybe very far right news sources. Yep. And if I'm clicking on Kamala Harris and in CNN or some of the other what I would say left-leaning news sources, then that's what I'm going to get on my newsfeed. And so we're having people getting their information from two very different sources. And instead of saying, hey, I heard this, what did you hear? Well, I heard this. Let's talk about it. It's more like, you're an idiot because you think that. And therefore, you're not worth talking to.
No, fair enough.
And there's no dialogue going on.
I agree completely. Yesterday, I was Googling naked lunch because I wanted to make sure I wasn't infringing, Now on my Facebook feed,
what you got on your Google search.
My Facebook feed is nothing but adult websites and places to go have a burger. It's crazy. So maybe I should have rethought the name of this vlog. No, I agree. It's because look, I think I've never invented any thought or new concept or and I also don't want to parrot what other talking heads are saying, but I think most human beings, most of us pretty much want the same thing by and large. Yeah. And we disagree on certain things, right? Yeah. I mean, we want comfort, security, to be embraced, to be needed, to be wanted, to be loved, to be active, to participate. By and large, there are those that don't care, but the human condition is one of community, and that's what's killing us right now with this COVID. There's a show I watch called New Amsterdam. It's a hospital drama. It's actually very well done. It's on.
I watched a few episodes of that.
The one last night just hit home on. There were a couple lines of dialogue that it was like they wrote it just for Bob. Okay, Bob, we wrote this just for you, and and that happens every now and then. We watch something, it speaks to us. But the main gist of it was the isolation that we're experiencing, and because of the COVID. This is fun. We're having a good time, but it's not the same as sitting in your living room and getting bitten by your dog or something like that,
Right. Yeah.
Now those are good times. This is just not the same thing. But I feel, and that's what people need more than anything. For me personally, I don't know about you, but was your life better before the internet?
Oh man, what a question that is. Gosh, was my life better? My life was good when I didn't have the internet. I like somebody described to me. Actually, I was reading. It might have been on Facebook, but anyway, they were talking about your mobile phone. If somebody from 100 years ago came back to life today, and you show them your mobile phone, you say, I have a device here that can access all information known to man, and it fits in my pocket.
Wow.
And I use it to watch cat videos.
Right.
but having that information at my fingertips, I like that. Yeah. If it didn't exist, I don't think my life would be any less satisfactory. I also know that there's a huge addiction to pornography because of the internet. That it's so easily accessible. All you need to do is type it in. You need to type in naked lunch and you get something, right?
Right. And I'm afraid that's going to happen. So that's why I'm dressed. Anyway.
When I was a kid, and pornography is a drug. It's addictive, and it ruins lives. And so there's that aspect of it. And when I was a kid, I had to go to the drugstore and ask for a magazine behind the counter. I had to admit that I was going to look at this. Whereas now, there's no accountability whatsoever. You can get whatever you want.
Did you ever drive past one of those adult bookstores and look for cars in the parking lot and go, hey, that's my name. That's Jimmy's. That's Jimmy's F-150 sitting over there. What's he doing there?
I like that car.
Or you say, I want to go in there, but I can't. What if I see someone I recognize? Well, they're there too, dude. Or the strip club, Vegas, the strip clubs here. You want to park across the street at the Smith's grocery store, and then you want to walk over. So I've heard. I wouldn't know, but that's what rumor on the street is. I think in a bad way the internet has leveled the. Again, I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. So in other words, whoever's watching this, you can tune out because you're probably not going to learn anything. Okay, maybe from Jay you might, but from me, no, not a thing.
Yeah.
But the internet has leveled the playing field for people that aren't qualified to be playing on the field in the first place. Case in point, entertainers. Just because you own a guitar and you've got green hair and some piercings and some ink doesn't make you a musician or a guitarist or a singer or an entertainer that anyone's going to want to hear. Okay.
It doesn't?
No.
It doesn't?
So you can go send that guitar back to, Guitar Center.
Okay, I have an appointment to get some tats.
Okay. You can cancel your appointment.
Okay.
Because no one's going to want to hear you. Okay. Except but some of these kids have got, 8 million followers on YouTube and they're playing your 3 chords and they think they're the next, Led Zeppelin. I spent 40 years honing my craft, years learning how to read. I had this skill called reading music.
What's that?
Well, you got these little black dots on a page, and they've got little stems on them, and they tell you which finger to push on your trumpet, or
Yeah.
Look at album covers. Look at album covers of bands. I grew up watching or listening to. You couldn't watch because there was nowhere to see them, but Blood, Sweat, and Tears. What a bunch of
yeah.
a collection of ugly looking dudes. No one cared because you listened because these were songs you wanted to
Nobody
hear.
cared what they looked like.
Mama Cass.
Yeah.
You think Mama
Yeah.
Cass could get a record deal today? Go ahead, take all the time you need.
No.
Wouldn't never happen. Well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Bob. What about Adele? And and look at Kelly Clarkson. Look what happened to her. And you could argue it, but
yeah, I don't. But again, it's far more complicated now because you have to look a certain way, to succeed.
You do,
and you don't need to have the talent that you needed to have. Back in the good old days.
The good old days, guys like that looked like you and me could be CEOs. Yeah. Now it's like, sorry, Mr. DeVito, we already have that position filled. What? That's why I'm wearing these sexy glasses. I was going to go with the color ones, It's got a little. Got them at the dollar store for $1. But I got these too. These are actual prescription, hundreds of dollars. These are Randy Jackson. Remember Randy Jackson, American Idol?
Yeah.
This is his line. You can buy them at Costco. And I can't see a darn thing with them. They got like the transitional where there's like 4 different degrees of. So for me to see you, I've got to sit like this. So that tiny little strip at the bottom is in focus. If I go like this, you might as well be over there somewhere. So what am I wearing? The ones I got in Israel at the 99 shekel store.
Yeah.
That'll be funny on the way home. By the way, are those like yellow? Is that yellow? I thought you were going to remodel your house or something, make it like, that'll look. I know that's going to come back.
You probably haven't been up to my office.
I haven't. No, that's a nice.
This is it's upstairs. My bedroom's over here.
Okay.
And this is my office. It's you can see. It's nothing fancy. It was yellow when I moved into it, and
you've been there since the 70s, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about painting it. That might be something I'll do if the pandemic doesn't.
Yeah, but you know what? You'd have to move all those pictures of you posing with, Zig Ziglar and whoever pictures you got there.
Zig Ziglar.
Remember Zig Ziglar? I thought they used those to roll your joints, but anyway.
There's that Indian guy who's there's an Indian guy who's a motivational speaker.
Benny Hinn? No. Okay, let's talk about let's talk about televangelists. Who's your favorite? Because I know you're into that kind of thing.
Who's my favorite televangelist? I don't think that makes sense. I don't have a favorite televangelist. If we're talking seriously, if we're talking like facetiously, I would say, they're all pretty wild. Ernest Angley. Do you know who Ernest Angley is? No,
and honestly, I have no interest. But go ahead.
Okay.
This is your podcast. I'm just the host.
Back in the 80s, he was big. He was in Akron, and he was a healer. So he would heal people, and he would come up to him, he'd put his hand on his head, and he would say, in the name of Jesus, I pronounce you healed.
Oh.
And the person would jump, and he would say, see, he's healed. He moved. The Spirit's moving in him, and it was really my first exposure to televangelism, and I never had a taste for it.
Okay, so let me bring up a couple things. I want to ask you a question, but before I do, there's a Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith. Did you ever see that movie?
I never saw that. No.
Do yourself a favor. I think Deborah Winger's in it. It's a brilliant movie about exactly this.
Okay.
The scam element. My next question, people go, where were you when Elvis died? Where were you when JFK was assassinated? Remember, where were you when, where were you on 9/11? Okay?
Yeah.
So, now I forgot what I was going to say.
Where we're talking about Leap of Faith, Steve Martin.
Right? Televangelists.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Where were you when?
Darn it.
You were going to say, where were you when something happened?
Folks, this is where I'm going to run a commercial. Okay, I'll be running I have a Geico ad. I'll be selling you some insurance or something. Very, very popular. It'll come to me. But what I was my legitimate question was, how does Franklin Graham reconcile his involvement with our political leadership and talk to me about that. Help me understand. Help me embrace that.
I don't understand it myself. I know there's a part of Christianity that believes. Well, Okay. I can't explain this one. Maybe I should even get into it.
This is the Naked Lunch, man. We promise honesty and openness, transparency.
Right.
Come on, you can do it.
But when you talk about things you don't know about, sometimes you put your foot in your mouth,
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give me some spin. Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. I think there's this sense that some Christians have that Christians should be in positions of power, and so they can influence entire nations to Christ, through a position of power. And I don't think that's the model that Jesus had when he was here on earth. He did not seek power. Everybody thought he should seek power, and everybody thought he was going to, but he didn't. He was after something more valuable, which is people's spiritual.
Shouldn't that be enough?
Well-being.
Shouldn't that be enough for everyone to go? The Franklin Grahams, the Hughes, anybody to go, wait a minute. Christian, follower of Christ, Christ-like, here's how he lived. He wasn't looking to build a stock portfolio. He wasn't looking to... I'm not saying you shouldn't have a nice house and have a career and make money, and that's wonderful stuff. And isn't it on you and me to give back and help the poor as opposed to trusting our government to do it? I don't believe in the government. I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But we don't do it. We have the opportunity to do it. In the last year...
to the government. Yeah, defaulted to that. I do think the church, and when I say the church, I'm not talking about the buildings and the institution. I'm talking about followers of Christ. It's the church's responsibility to take care of the poor. And we've defaulted or we've reneged our responsibility and let the government do it in many cases.
Yeah.
And the government has stepped up to do that. And the government does it though because of power, I think. But a Christian would not do that for power. A Christian would do that to win people's hearts towards Jesus and to educate people of Jesus's teachings, those sorts of things. Some people would say people follow Jesus so they don't go to hell.
Fire insurance.
And that has been the emphasis in a lot of evangelical circles is, win people to Jesus, accept him as your personal savior, which you don't find in the Bible, actually, that phrase. They win people to Jesus so they won't go to hell. Well, there is an eternal aspect to this, yes, but Jesus also came to help people have abundant lives right here and right now. And we don't emphasize that as much as we should be.
And I think the key for that is you just use the word abundant. It says if you pray according to God's will, he will give you everything based on if you're praying for stuff that he wants you to pray for. If you're praying for stuff he doesn't want you to pray for, you might still get it because you're out there working hard or stealing or whatever, scamming people, being a televangelist, whatever you do. But if you pray to Jesus' heart, right?
Yeah.
There's a little delay here. Testing 1, 2. And that's what people get wrong. I want to go back to something you said a long time ago.
Okay.
The Republicans' platform, the conservative platform of not spending. I have 2 words for you: $6 trillion. Go ahead and explain. Yeah, explain that to me, please.
I'm afraid to look anymore. I'm afraid to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So when for your family, for your household, you can either earn money, save it, and use that money to buy stuff, right? Or you can get a credit card out and just borrow the money, or maybe get a printing press in your garage, right? Or there's probably room in the corner of your office up there, and just print some money.
I've got a printer over here. I could just
nice.
print it out.
One of those new Epsons, man. If you get the right paper, they can't tell. You put it in one of those coin machines at the casino, and it's beautiful. Yeah. My friend tried that just about a week ago.
Your friend did.
I got to go visit him, by the way. I can see him every Thursday between 3 and 4. So what would be the preferred method of the Republican method of let's just borrow some money or print it, or let's tax people. If you want something, you have to pay for it. You want more roads, your taxes. You want this? Well, we got to charge you for it. Well, I don't know. What concept works better for you?
Um, well, I think the tendency of government is to grow bigger and bigger. Whether you're borrowing or whether you're taxing, it's growing bigger and bigger. And unless you actively work against that, it's going to continue to grow, continue to influence areas of our lives where really we'd be better off without it being in there. And it takes wisdom and it takes smarts to figure out what the government needs to do and what the government doesn't need to do. And so it's not cut and dried, but I also think that limited government is where I fall. It's like government should be as limited as possible and not put itself into your lives more than necessary. So your question is, either tax and spend or borrow and spend. Which is better? Is that what you're saying?
I think, Jay. I think you answered my question. Okay. No, I agree with. I don't believe in big government. I don't support and follow much authority. I'm not an authority kind of guy. I never have been. I've always been the contrarian because I don't trust most people. So I'm with you on that. I think there can be a level of compassion and still be conservative. I think there could be values and have fiscal responsibility. I'm fiscally very conservative. I'm from Holland. I'm from my grandma could have lived longer if she didn't have to wait 9 months to see a doctor. Well, but it's free. Jay, I've had, as you know, you read my book, I've had 4 open heart surgeries. And if I'd had to pay for that, I'd never be able to pay that bill. I had insurance, which was incredibly expensive. But when push came to shove, if I needed that surgery tomorrow, I would get it tomorrow. I wouldn't have to see if there's an opening in July. Right.
Yeah,
so there's a payoff. There's a cost, and there's always a cost of doing business. So I get all that. I just think in the last year, Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook have gained $4 trillion in value. Okay.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, because people are cooped up, Amazon's selling them stuff they don't really need, but they got to do something. Mama, how many puzzles or whatever we're buying? We're all on Facebook, we're all on Google looking for stuff, and Apple products are overpriced anyway. By the way, my iPhone, if I had to buy that here, made by an American, the hardworking American guy, what do you think my iPhone would cost if it wasn't made in China?
Probably a lot more than it costs now.
Yeah, see, China. Well, we got to close down the Buggy Whip factory. We got to close down the VCR plant in West Virginia. Why? Because we no longer need those things, and they're built much cheaper and much better overseas, where people are willing to work. You're an international business consultant. Why am I preaching to the choir? I'm not, because you don't know this. You know this better than I will ever know it. But again, how do we reconcile that?
I don't know. I mean, there's benefits to a global economy. There's benefits to that. Some things are cheaper. The problem is, though, the reason it's cheaper in China is because they pay their workers diddly squat.
Yep.
That's the problem. So I'm not sure what the solution is to that. I don't. I think it makes sense to have, to generate wealth within your own nation. I think that benefits the nation, and I think in outsourcing, labor to countries that don't have good labor laws is borders on the unethical. If for me, I ran a business in India for 10 years. Okay. And we paid here's the rub. Okay. When I was running it, we paid our workers, about 10% over the market rate, maybe 20. Okay. So we paid them well. Cause when I found a good teacher, a good Indian teacher who taught English well, a good worker for the office, I wanted to keep them. And so, the only thing I needed to do was pay them a little bit better and pay them on time. And they were loyal to me. They would never leave.
Sure.
But when I sold the business, it went to another guy who paid his workers maybe 50% over the market rate. Okay, and that eroded all the wealth within the company, and it eventually was pretty much bankrupt by the end.
Wow.
And then those workers, they were getting paid quite well. They're used to a certain standard of living. They go back out into the marketplace, and they can't get a job, paying what they were getting at this other place. And so that's a problem for them. Their kids are in private school or whatever they're doing. So there's a balance there. It's like you want to pay people well and treat them well and help them with their medical expenses and things like that. But you don't want to get them to the place where they're dependent upon you as a foreigner or as even as a company. And because if they have to get another job, they're never going to find the income level that they're getting there. Yeah. So you have to be smart.
That was a sort of a great wrap up. We made out there. This time just goes whoosh.
It does, doesn't
but that was
it?
a great, that was well explained, and something that I don't think most people, including myself, have considered. We look at the surface thing, we're going to tariff another country because of this, and they're stealing our ideas, and I don't want to pay $300 for a pair of Nikes, which they're almost that much anyway. And our fat corporate cats are just getting rich, which is true as well. And our health insurance business is corrupt and overpriced, and on and on and on and on and on. But like you say, there's no easy one size cookie cutter solution to any of these things.
No, there's not, because you can say, well, that's not your fault that you're paying them well in a living wage and they can't get it in their culture. They can't go back out and get that. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm not changing anything. I mean, I was educating 500 students at the time, at a country that's billion, 1.3 billion people. That's just not, it's a drop in the bucket. I'm not changing anything. And all I'm doing is making life harder for people.
Well, we went an entire hour without a phone call, which is, that doesn't bode well for my business. Okay.
As a realtor, yeah.
As the most popular real estate agent in Las Vegas, you'd think that my phone would be blowing up. But I blame it on the market, not on the. No, it's not me. It's the market. Well, listen. In closing, is there anything you want to wrap? This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you being guest number 2 on the soon-to-be long-running podcast, whatever this is. Train wreck, the Naked Lunch train wreck. That's what I'm going to call it. So talk me off the ledge on the name, and then I want to hear you maybe give if you want to promote something you might have, or a website, or a PayPal, or a Swiss bank account, wherever you might want to send people.
You can send me money directly.
Oh, okay. Let me get right on that. Here's my Google Wallet or whatever these kids are using. Jay Shifely. Oh. My account's overdrawn. Sorry, dude.
Let me plug a couple of things. One is there's a documentary on Netflix called Poverty Inc.
Okay.
Poverty Inc. Watch that, please, because while it's a bit dated, some of the companies they highlight have made some corrections to what's going on, but it just highlights the whole problem of, like, one example is Haiti, where so much relief work goes. I know church groups that are going to Haiti all the time, building something or doing something. They get all their rice for free from the U.S. surplus. We ship rice over there all the time, and they used to have a booming rice business. Yeah. They would farm rice there, and that put all those farmers out of business, and that they can't compete with free rice. Wow. So that if you're trying to help somebody, that's not the way to do it. It just makes people dependent on you. Yeah. You need to help them generate their own wealth.
Yep.
That's what you need to do.
Yep.
And so Poverty Inc. is a good.
And that's the website.
Documentary to watch.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. And then my website is shifleybusinessnetwork.com. You can go there. You can learn more about what we do, how we help people, how we help businesses overseas, help local economies generate wealth, and alleviate poverty.
Fantastic. I will make sure that's on I'll edit this down and put those links on there, so for the viewers' convenience, because I'm all about convenience.
Yes, aren't we all? Yeah.
So in closing, I love you, dude, but that yellow wall is just, it sort of sedated me. I could have been a lot more aggressive, but I just looked at that and I'm going, I almost felt like taking a nap.
Yeah, well, it keeps me mellow up here.
Apparently it does. At least it's not pink. So next time I'll give you a tour of the estate, the stately manor here.
Okay.
But that takes about 3 hours, and normally I charge $25 for that. But for you, anyway. So is it snowing? Is it raining? What's happening in Ohio today?
It is raining right now. It's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And yesterday it almost hit 70.
Wow.
Yeah. And but it's going to be in the 40s for the next couple of days, and then Saturday and Sunday are going to be probably in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're starting. There's a lot happening. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in some ways, with winter ending, with vaccinations going out.
Yeah.
And with even business-wise, we're starting to see more people starting to come to us now that international travel and business recovery seems on the horizon.
So there's hope for the future in your estimation.
Yeah. I'm feeling very hopeful. Okay. I'm a resilient guy. I'm not moody. I'm pretty steady, but this COVID stuff has been depressing. Yeah. And so, but I've done fine in it. But as we come out of it, it's like, oh, it is brighter on this side.
No, fair enough. Well said. I think, you're lucky you do have a wife for communication, companionship, those kind of things. Right. That helps a lot when you're cooped up and isolated. Yeah. Even though your children. Go ahead, please.
Telecommunication and Zoom has been good. We, our kids, my daughter's in DC and my son's in Japan, and every Saturday night we have a video conference together. And we just put them up on the television in the living room, and we just kind of, hang out together for a while. And that's been nice. I don't know that we may have, but I think COVID has made that more, has kicked us in the butt to do things like that, since we can't see each other face to face as much. So that's been good.
I'm lucky that my folks live in town, and every Sunday night I go to my mom and dad's for dinner, and then my dad, who's 92, he breaks out his accordion because chicks dig accordions, and I bought him a MAGA hat. Yeah, make accordions great again. I think I heard from Rudy Giuliani is suing us.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's going to happen.
No.
But
yeah,
maybe I got Chris Cuomo lining up to do an interview with me to talk about my dad's Make Accordions Great hat again. None of this is funny, by the way.
Chris Cuomo, Chris.
Oh yeah, no, the other guy, he's a disaster too. Look, I don't care.
The other guy might be desperate to come on with you and talk.
Right? He's desperate, all right. They're all a bunch of crazy loons. Well, listen, my friend, thank you so much. We'll be sure to plug those sites here. We'll put a little blurb there on the bottom of the screen. And
sounds good.
Well, folks, I'm going to do a little sign off here. Thanks for watching The Naked Lunch. As you saw, neither happened, but maybe someday, if you tune into the right broadcast version, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button and share it on social media, including you, Jay. Make sure all your friends and family, anyone you know, just sees this, because you were fantastic, folks. Wasn't he? He was tremendous. He was awesome. He was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
He's a good-looking man. He's a good-looking man.
Yep.
And is that completely shaved, or you use the number one, or what do you do on that?
I use a razor in the shower.
Oh, you do?
Every couple 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
I haven't got. This is a number one. I did this myself the other day, and I got some patches in the back where I couldn't see, so I got little tufts of hair.
I get that too, but I keep it short enough that I don't think they're noticeable.
No one's going to notice. Anyway. There you go. That's all that matters. Yeah. All right, folks.
One thing I noticed, Bob, is that when you're in hot weather and you have a bald head, sweat rolled right off your head into your eyes.
Oh, that's why those NBA guys are all wearing the headbands.
And when it rains, it rolls right off your head, all down your face. So when we were in India, it was a problem. So I let it grow back out. And it really makes a difference to have a little bit, around.
I have one word for you.
Moisture.
I have one word for you. Hat. Okay. With that, we're going to cut you loose. Thanks again, Jay. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. All right, folks.
Okay.
Tune in next time. We'll see you.